My explanation here may seem like some sort of Rube Goldberg kind of machine for getting this done. It's not that difficult. You just kind of have to think about, the process of what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. I've got, as we know, we already got our centerboard or dagger board case mounted square to the level. The boat's leveled and trued. We've done the aft seat 2x2 cross members. They're in squared level with the hull. Now I'm going to figure out, or show you how to figure out, to get the aft seat brace in. It sets aft of the dagger board case, and what I've done was I've taken a long board that will span the distance. I've added my pencil bobs to the height. I put a piece of wood cross clamped it at the bottom of our level here to find that height on the side panels on the port and starboard side, and I marked that. Then I took my piece here, and when I cut into the panels on the 1 foot station lines, I cut a groove in the tops at each station line. That gives me a standard measuring spot on both sides that I know is equal because they're mirror images of each other. So I'll measure out from my base here, which was 5 foot from the stern up to the edge. I've got it lined up, and I measured out the aft edge of this is 8 inches from my station line cut mark to here. Okay, then I know how high it's going to be on the sides, and I know how far forward and aft it's going to be on the sides. Then I took my measuring stick here and then measured that distance, gave myself a little extra room, and then took a piece of scrap. You're going to have some pieces left over between the panels when you cut them out of the double set when you're doing the locking and the cutting out. So then you'll take that, put it in, measure it out until it fits to where it's supposed to be. You'll take that measurement then, transfer it to the 2x2, and then always give yourself a little bit of extra material. When I cut out the 2x2, I'm going to give it some extra, and I'm going to use my sample 2x2 block in order to make certain I've got the angles of the sides this way and that way correctly. Then I'll have that one done. One of the things I wanted to do on this boat, because of the double ender and the way the weight distribution was, the seat, in order to balance out, had to be aft of the dagger board trunk, and so it's going to stick out a little bit, but I'm going to build a little housing around it. I wanted the room here for when there's somebody in the stern seat, somebody is rowing from the bow seat, that the bow person rowing will have room for their feet. So what I've had to do is and you want to make sure you're level and everything, that I've cut some short sections, 12 inches wide. There'll be bevels tapered down on either side, which we'll do later, and then the top. There'll be another cross piece that'll be in here to tie them together and give the top seat some support between the rails, between the sides and here. I had to dap, cut an angle, cut the end of the board here, tapered on both sides, and it fits in. It'll all be gel magic together. Okay, I just finished up cutting in the bow seat cross members, so all of that is done. Now I will just put a slight taper on the end, so when I add my plywood pieces, like I said before, they'll have a little bit more of a glue surface. I'd probably bevel it from about here down to there. I don't need to go full width, just something to increase the glue surface area. When I epoxy it up, got her all leveled out. Level all around both sides. I mean, it's a little, you're going to do a battle with all your tools, and you're going to make lots of tests. You're going to keep some scrap around to make your dry runs. You're going to have a stick that started out much longer when I was doing the first center seat cross member, and I just kept whittling it down until I knew I got it to fit in the spot where it was supposed to go, and then I would use that for my overall measurements. But I would always mark and cut just a hair more and then trim it down on my bandsaw when I needed to. So okay, I've re-rigged the interior a little bit. I've still got my long board across with my 4-foot level to make certain that the boat is level gunwale to gunwale. My pencil bob on my center line is still setting over the mark I made on the trunk to confirm that that is still in position. I've got a couple extra 2x2s, 8-footers, that I'm using as a kind of a backbone to hold everything into place. I went back through to recheck, and I found that some of my initial measurements were not correct. The only one that I really knew was absolutely dead on was the aft part on the seat, which I had measured off from one of the scarf joints that was close by, and that was equal distance on both sides. So I know that that is my base, and then I'll set up the middle seat forward part, and then measure off the aft seat part to set the bow and the stern seat cross members. I have them all leveled, trued, measured out. Everything is coming in just perfect. I'll probably take the whole thing apart and then epoxy the ends of the 2x4 so that I know I've got a good seal. That end grain is going to suck a lot of epoxy up, and I don't want a weak joint when I gel matching them to the hull. The hull's already glassed over, so I'm not worried about the epoxy being absorbed by the hull. But I am concerned about the epoxy in the gel magic being absorbed by the end grain on the 2x2. So I will take the whole thing apart and seal it off. So that should be it for the moment. And at the same time, I'll cut the bevels into the sides that need them. When I left off on the last video, I said I was going to remove all the pieces out of the boat and then coat the ends with epoxy to seal them off. It's real easy to see how much this one here probably could have had a little bit more epoxy on it. You can see some dry spots on it, but this part here is nice and shiny, so it got a good coat. One thing about the System 3 epoxies on the silver tip is you can go a couple days without having to sand them and apply more epoxy on it and still have a chemical bond and not just a mechanical bond. If it's gone over 72 hours, then I would have need to have sanded this in order for a better mechanical bond. I would have not have achieved the chemical bond between the new and the old epoxy. But since this was only done yesterday afternoon, I still have time in order to do it. So now I'm going to go ahead and mix up some gel magic out of the tubes. I could have done it with the Utah tube in the caulking gun, but as I've said before, I like mixing it up, and I've got it. It's handy. I just wished I would have taken it and put it someplace warm. As you can see how I'm dressed, it's June 6th here in the Seattle area, and it was 47 degrees outside right now and rain. I've never seen a cold spring like this before.